Good evening, friends. Welcome to this session that we are having on blockchain today, that DApps will change the rules of the game. It's always clear, generally known that when a new technology comes in, there is a huge hype, and when the hype dies down, the actual real work gets done, and we see a huge change that's happening. Right? For example, when artificial intelligence, machine learning came up, it was hype for long, but when it actually started working, the whole way, the rules of the game completely changed. So today what we are going to do is to look at how DApps, the blockchain-based DApps, are going to change the rules of the game. So before I go into the program and introduce the special guest for the day, my name is Sridhar. I am Executive Director at Talent Sprint, and I am here on behalf of both IIT Hyderabad and Talent Sprint, welcoming you for this program. And we will be discussing with Sunil Agarwal very soon about this program. Just before we get in, and I'm sure there are a lot of new people joining into the program, so we'll wait for them for a couple of minutes, but for the benefit of people who have already joined, let me introduce IIT Hyderabad and Talent Sprint. I'm sure all of you know about it. Let me go to the next slide. Okay, so I'm sure many of you know about it, but IIT Hyderabad is the first IIT in the country. This was started as a specific research-based institution and one of the very few research-focused institutions in the country, right? And today, as of today, IIT Hyderabad has the India's largest computer science-based research group in India. In addition to that, it's also the largest or number 2 in robotics in the world, in India, and more importantly, out of the 14 institutions across the globe, Ripple has selected IIT Hyderabad and IIT Mumbai, IIT Bombay are the 2 institutions in India where the COE for blockchain is being done. So that's the background about IIT, and from there I go to about Talent Sprint. Talent Sprint is a private organization looking at bringing technology into education, and we have developed a very, very strong hybrid learning platform, and we work extremely closely with top academic institutions. So today we are talking about IIT Hyderabad. We have a program with IIM Calcutta, which are the first classes starting tomorrow. We have a program coming next week with IIT Hyderabad, and we also work with global companies. Like we have a program for women engineers with Google, and we are also working with Pegasystems on the university academic program in India. Our objective is to bring deep tech, disruptive technologies to both working and young professionals. With this background, I go to the next slide. Recently, I'm sure all of you would have seen yesterday, there was an announcement made. We have launched an online All India program for blockchain and distributed ledger technologies. In addition to that, we also have launched a All India program for artificial intelligence and machine learning. These are the 2 programs we do with IIT Hyderabad. Today morning I saw a lot of coverage in all big newspapers, Economic Times, Times of India, etc., covering this news, and we are really going to, based on the experience that we have had, we are really going to talk about how blockchain is going to change the world, and also look at how this program can help people develop those skills. So today we have with us Professor Sunil Agarwal, one of the very, very interesting, let me introduce him onto the screen.
Yeah, here you see. Welcome, Sunil. Right. Sunil has been in the blockchain field for more than what I can remember or heard of. Before I heard of blockchain, he has been there in that. Maybe last 8 years, he has been focusing on cryptocurrencies and blockchain. Welcome, Sunil, to this program.
Thank you.
I'm sure for many of the blockchain enthusiasts, you are not new. Right? So, how did you get into blockchain? What brought you to blockchain?
See, I was deeply interested in the question of money, and the research problem that I was working on, can we have a sound notion of global money? And when in early 2012 I happened to read a very small article on Bitcoin, and that was could see that there is a disruptive technology, a disruptive global currency system which is emerging through this unique technology. And that was when I could see that this is a time to actually invest my energies, invest my research potential, and put my all life bets onto it. And that's what I did. And I really feel that all those bets have really paid off, because when I entered this world, there were only three blockchains. One was Bitcoin, second one was Namecoin, and third one was Litecoin. And the entire crypto market cap was around $100 million, which means $0.1 billion. And from that 8 years ago to now, I can see more than 2,000 blockchain platforms and a market cap of around 250 billion. So I've seen a lot, and to be honest, this lot of innovation has actually completely rewired my thinking, and I have started feeling that we have completely shifted into a new economic paradigm.
Okay.
And that's very, very interesting.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm sure we are going to talk a lot about it. So, you have been in academics,
Yeah,
but not in the technical academics.
yeah.
Then you got interested in Bitcoin and how it's going to change, to start with Bitcoin and then after that blockchain. So, how do you see this transmission? I mean, is blockchain a technology for the technology people, or is it for business? What's the overall framework under which you should look at blockchain?
See, the one major mistake that people commit is that they actually over-focus on Bitcoin.
Okay.
But the fact here is that currency is one of the many use cases of underlying technology, which is blockchain technology. And to illustrate it further, blockchain technology is nothing but a distributed ledger technology. It's a ledger technology within which all ledgers are shared across multiple nodes spread across the world, and these ledgers are auto-updating themselves. But the fact is that Bitcoin was the first mover in this field, so that's why people actually focus more on Bitcoin. But the fact here is that the underlying technology is so disruptive that it can actually shift into all kinds of digital assets. So currency is just one field. If you actually shift this thing into digital assets, financial derivatives, academic certificates, land records, and n number of other things, the real potential of blockchain technology is in hundreds of trillions of dollars worth of economy.
Okay, that's interesting. So that probably directly brings us to the topic of today, right? How does DApp change the rules of the game, right? So before we go there, I have one question. We all know apps. What is this DApp?
See, the fact here is that all the apps which are currently we are using, they are actually all located in a centralized data repository.
Correct.
But when you say DApp, a DApp is located in a decentralized system which is spread across multiple computer nodes. So you can kill a centralized application if that centralized repository is down.
Yeah.
You have seen multiple occasions when big applications like Twitter and Facebook have suffered outage. But the problem here is that the entire architecture of a centralized server system is now being replaced by a decentralized and distributed system, which means you cannot kill a blockchain. It means any application which is flowing on blockchain cannot be killed off. So it's a decentralized application because it is resilient, it is sustainable, and it is already being adopted by masses.
So can I say that it doesn't have a single point
The
of
failure.
Exactly. It cannot be killed by one single event.
Yeah, that's interesting. So when you really look at, I mean, all of us know apps, how you keep using it, when you talk about app and apps. I mean, when I say apps, a lot of things comes to mind, right? Right from booking a cab to transferring money to social media to everything, right? So what DApp in the blockchain world is today the most talked about?
See, the fact here is that when you need to understand that, you need to understand a smart contract platform.
Okay.
See, after Bitcoin, I would say that blockchain has actually entered into a phase 2.0. If Bitcoin was 1.0, Ethereum was 2.0.
Okay.
And the fact here is that Ethereum is not the only smart contract platform in the world. There are multiple other smart contract platforms like EOS,
Okay.
like Cardano, like Tezos, like there's so many others. So the fact here is that smart contract platforms have actually multiplied in a big way.
So it means that those smart contracts can be used to build applications.
Yeah.
And since all those applications are actually floating on blockchains, so we call them decentralized applications. So whatever can be built in a centralized application, similar things can be exactly built in a decentralized application, because the fundamental logic is Turing completeness. Everything that can be computed will be computed.
Okay.
So what happened in a centralized world will also happen in a decentralized world, which means if there is a Facebook in one world, there will also be a decentralized version of Facebook in the other world.
So as much as it is there in both iOS world and the Android world.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay. So coming back again to this thing, people are talking about
Blockchain as crypto assets. First you talked about it. The distributed ledger technologies, right? They also talk about blockchain automating trust,
Yeah.
right? So these are multiple ways people are defining blockchain or describing blockchain, if not defining. So what's your view on that? How does it automate trust?
See, we need to understand how the trust is being achieved in a current system. See, for example, you want to apply for a passport. Okay? Then you will go to one particular department, and that department will offer you a certain kind of service. Now, this is an institutional trust.
Yes.
Or an institution-centric trust. But the fact here is that if you need a driving license, the level of efficiency might be very different.
Yeah.
And so, if you need any other, for example, academic record, then you will be going into university. So the fact here is, when you live in a world where institution-centric trust
Is there, then levels of efficiency, levels of trust can vary a lot.
okay.
But in a blockchain based system, you are not depending upon a single institution. You are actually achieving trust at an industrial scale. For example, let me give you two examples. Number one, Bitcoin is a decentralized ecosystem. It has done more than 415 million transactions till date without the need of any centralized third-party system.
Okay.
Similarly, Ethereum is doing around 800,000 transactions per day.
Okay.
And the total transactions
There is no central approving authority for it.
exactly.
Okay.
And overall, the total blockchain-based transactions at present in the world are 3 to 4 billion per day. So which means that these all systems are decentralized systems, and these decentralized systems are actually industrializing trust. Which means we are having faster transactions, we are having cheaper transactions, and we are having zero risk transactions.
Okay. So I had some technical issue. There are a lot of people asking or chatting in the group asking for some information. So I'll come to that. Now that's our problem is sorted out. I think somebody's saying the voice is not audible. Is that sorted out now? Right. Even a minute back, I think Krishna and Meera have been saying that they couldn't hear us. So can you just recheck and ensure that it's audible enough? If I can get an acknowledgement from participant, that would be great. Okay, so till I get this feedback, let me ask you a very basic question. Right? There was a reason why you got into blockchain, looking at from your famous or your favorite subject of politics of money and how money is now being centralized, how you can decentralize it and stuff like that. So yeah, good. Rajesh says yes, voice problem. So okay now. So looks like it's okay now. I'm sorry about that inconvenience, and Raj Das also has confirmed. So basic question. That's fine. And right now, bit of was the reason why you got into blockchain. Okay. Now that's clear. So coming back, so politics of money, and from there you favorite subject. Now from academic you moved into being consulting and practicing and stuff like that. Now back into academics, right? Now you are doing a program on blockchain, and I'm sure you also did the first credit-based program in a university on blockchain, and now you are doing the IIIT Hyderabad Arrangement program along with IIIT faculty and yourself doing the whole process of. Okay, hey, Krishna says when both of us are on screen it's audible. Otherwise it is not. So you guys can freeze it and then from there we can take it forward. Okay, so with that background you are back into academics now in a different form, trying to help practitioners to build expertise on blockchain. All right, and I understand that already 2 cohorts people have graduated from this program. So can you share a little bit of experience on how industry people are looking at, because end of the day any change in rule has to happen when industry adopts it, right? And the next is how the regulators adopt it. So I want to split this into 2 phases. Now industry adoption you have already done with working professionals joining the program, companies looking at enhancing the talent. So would you like to share your experience on the last 2 cohorts, 150 odd people whom you have trained so far?
See, actually, whether industry is accepting blockchain in a big way, yes or no, this kind of a question is actually a kind of a chicken and egg problem.
Yeah.
See, when you go to industry big wigs ask, are there sufficient blockchain developers, sufficient blockchain professionals? And when you want to build an education program on blockchain, then the students who want to enter that particular program, they ask, are there sufficient jobs?
Correct.
Now, the fact here is that ultimately this kind of paradox is because that in the market there are not enough capacity building programs.
Okay.
Sufficient blockchain developers. Have actually shown sufficient blockchain last professionals. 2 cohorts. And capacity building programs when you want to build an education be run, and they are actually generating a multiplier effect. Program they ask, let me elaborate. Are there sufficient jobs? When we did cohort 1 from the fact here 13th October 2018 to end of December, it was a 10-week long, very rigorous program. But being the program designer, I was quite nervous that whether we will be able to match up to candidates' expectations. And touchwood, we were really able to give them a kind of content which was actually up to their expectations. And the most interesting part of that was that we saw not one, multiple successful projects coming out of that. The first major project that came out of that was a startup which was actually building a drug supply chain project. And the beauty is that since December, that startup has only gained weight after weight. First it got funding, and recently it has signed an MOU with Aditya Birla Group. So the fact here is this is not just one project. There is another project. We saw a group called Blockchain Policy Group emerging out of first cohort. that group has recently issued a white paper on corporate currencies in blockchain era.
Yeah.
Then there is one more startup which is actually at present building a white paper. And you'll be surprised to know today morning, one of the members of cohort 1 approached me that they are building a smart contract enabled legal tech firm in India.
Legal tech firm, okay.
This would be the first legal tech project driven by
Excellent.
blockchain in India.
So can I broadly understand saying that from those people whom you have interacted with, both inside this program, even outside, the industry is looking at adapting to blockchain?
See, the fact here is the first test of a quality program is that how close you are interacting with the industry. See, in our all programs, a lot of industry professionals come to our program and interact with our professionals. And that's what we have continuously maintained. And the fact here is that when all those industry participants interact with our students, they feel that these students are really fairly advanced people, advanced professionals. And this has happened not only cohort 1, in cohort 2. For example, in April, when it was a day before the convocation, we invited 6 industry people.
Okay.
People from Ripple were there. So the fact here is that at present there are a lot of blockchain projects which are actually turning mature.
Yeah, which means that there is a opportunity for industry to adapt it faster.
Exactly.
And be a game changer for the industry as such.
Yeah.
So while I have one question, there are a lot of people asking questions. Let me take that first and come to my second part of the question about regulatory, right? Aman Krishna says how beneficial it is for banking, international trade finance and treasury transactions, and how we could make it easily understandable to the end user. So there are two parts to the question, right? One is the industry based question. How is the industry either useful for the industry or adapting for the industry? And the second is the customer experience part of the question. So let's split this into two. Let's take the first part. How blockchain and distributed ledger technologies are going to impact the banking and treasury area.
See, let me actually illustrate what Ripple executive actually told the entire participants of cohort 2 just last month. See, at present in India alone, Ripple is implementing close to 12 projects. 4 Indian banks have already onboarded Ripple solutions. Now, at present, if you want to conduct a global banking transaction, it takes 2 to 3 working days.
This is international transfer of money.
Yes, global banking transaction. So, if it takes 2 to 3 working days, it is a huge time in today's world.
Correct.
When you can send message in no time across the world, you should get money in no time.
Not message, you can send a video.
Exactly. So the fact here is that Ripple
Yeah.
can do that transaction in less than 8 seconds. For example, if my client in Australia is sending money to me in India, I'm getting money after some time, and that my client is paying more than $20 for that transaction. But the fact here is Ripple can do that transaction at less than 1% of that cost. So
And in 8 seconds.
yeah, so transaction cost is going down, number one, and time is actually the biggest saving.
Yeah.
And not only that, banks are actually having a very, very big relief, because a lot of capital that was actually locked in those pending global transaction confirmations has been relieved.
Yeah, that's good. That's true. I mean, if there is so much of speed and efficiency, why
Exactly.
not use it, right? Okay, there is one question. Let me just read who it is. Shrikant, does blockchain technology have anything in relation with data science and machine learning? This is a very popular question. I think Professor Srinathn answered it the other day.
See, recently I delivered one talk in IIIT Hyderabad on this particular subject. Uh, what are the convergence zones between blockchain and AI/ML? And the fact here is, at present there are more than 100 AI projects in the world who are using blockchain.
Okay.
The only problem is that in India we have not seen much of energy, much of event happening in this particular space.
Yeah.
But the fact here is, I can name certain projects. Number one project is Singularity Net.
What is that?
Singularity Net.
Singularity Net. Okay.
Then there is a project called Numerare.
Okay.
So Singularity Net is offering artificial journal intelligence in a decentralized way.
Okay.
For example, Google DeepMind is a artificial journal intelligence platform. Singularity Net is doing the same, but in a decentralized way.
Yeah.
Then there is Golem Network.
Yeah.
Then there is Numerare. Then there is Endor protocol. There are actually n number of such platforms which are actually merging blockchain and machine learning.
Yeah. Okay. So, as I think machine learns from data, and distributed data is blockchain. So
See,
at some point of time it has to merge.
See, there is interesting thing. Blockchain creates a very, very reliable data.
Yeah.
And a machine learning algorithm needs reliable data. And once blockchain produces data, and which is an immutable strain of data, then that data actually become a trigger
Yeah.
for interpretation.
That's true. Both needs to go hand in hand. So now Krishna Rajput is asking, I want to integrate IoT device with smart contract. Is that possible?
Of course, no doubt about that. See, recently one of our faculty members, Dharmen, who is also a senior solutions architect at Tech Mahindra, did a couple of projects using IOTA. IOTA is basically using a specific kind of distributed ledger technology called DAG, directed acyclic graph structure. Basically, a normal blockchain can achieve, for example, Hyperledger Fabric can achieve around 4,000 transactions per second. But in case of IOTA, this throughput can be up to 1 million transactions per second.
Yeah.
And at present, there are a lot of players who are actually trying to implement blockchain in IoT section.
Yeah. So there is a question from Krishna who says, what are the prerequisites to learn blockchain, right? And what languages that we need to know to get into blockchain?
See, to be honest, I tell you my story. I come from social sciences background, and I have been in blockchain for now almost 8 years. So, as far as blockchain ecosystem is concerned, it is a very, very deep and dense ecosystem. And the kind of jobs which are actually emerging in this particular sector are blockchain architects, blockchain developers, blockchain business practitioners, blockchain policy developers, then blockchain business
Program managers.
analysts. So, lot of other things are happening. So, the issue here is that what is your strong area which actually falls in sync with blockchain capabilities.
Yeah.
So, you can both be a developer as well as a non-developer to actually excel in blockchain universe.
See, the talent is so limited today, and it's definitely any project to be successful, the talent is required across the spectrum.
Exactly.
Right from the person who designs to funds,
Exactly.
to somebody who writes the code, to somebody who manages the project. So definitely it's going to be there across. So there is a question from, okay, there was a question about AWS giving blockchain, etc. I think the participants are so good that they have answered between themselves. So let me not go there. Naushad is bringing out a very interesting point, which is the second point of my question about regulatory framework for blockchain, right? what about RBI statements? Cryptocurrencies are negative. So I think there is a difference between what we are talking on blockchain and cryptocurrency. In spite of that, that's a basic question many people have, right? Yes, blockchain itself is legal, illegal, right? I know many places, not just India, across the globe, cryptocurrency is accepted or banned. There is enough fight going around the world across all regulators, whether it is to be accepted or not accepted. But so what is the level of acceptance between cryptocurrencies on one level and more importantly blockchain on the other level, which is the underlying technology?
See, let me illustrate this particular thing only from the RBI angle.
Okay.
See, RBI has stated that no cryptocurrency exchange will have any relationship between with banks or financial institutions, which means they have only said that crypto transactions cannot be converted into fiat and fiat transactions cannot be converted into.
So two independent worlds can exist though.
Yeah. Now, in this particular situation, the question of legality is completely undecided. No government circular has ever said that cryptocurrencies are illegal in India.
Okay.
Let's be very, very clear that no government directive has ever said that cryptocurrencies are illegal. The only thing that has been said that they are not a legal tender, which is fair. But now let me elaborate it further. The sister concern of RBI, which is a sister university, IDRBT, Institute of Development and Research in Banking Technology, it has actually issued a white paper in the favor of blockchain technology.
Yeah, that's going to technology,
So,
not the currency.
so
Yeah.
the point here is that there is a broad stand that cryptocurrencies are just one standalone, not a dominant use case of blockchain technology. So, at present, we can build multiple other use cases. So, it means RBI's sister concern is saying that we need to actually look at the larger perspective.
So blockchain as a technology
Yes.
is here to stay.
Yes. And second thing is that with that confirmation, most of Indian corporates are going big for blockchain based applications.
Yeah. So the instance of cryptocurrency is a problem, but not blockchain technology as a technology.
Exactly.
And very interestingly, I also read across the globe and specifically in India, many states adopting blockchain technology.
Yes.
So what are the instances that you have come across?
See, let me give you the example of government of Telangana itself. See, at present there are 5 projects going on in the government of Telangana only on blockchain. Let me illustrate one. And the founders of that particular project were there with us in cohort 2 as part of industry interaction. The name of that project is Chitmonks.
Chipmunks.
Now, that project is actually bringing the entire chit fund industry of Telangana state onto blockchain. Now,
Good.
there is something very, very interesting happening here. See, this state has a chit fund industry which runs to the tune of 30 to 40,000 crores per annum. So this is the potential size of that particular.
$5 billion.
Yes. So, and this entire industry was paper based.
Okay.
Now, here come 2 entrepreneurs, Pavan Adipuram and Jiten Malla. They design a blockchain platform, go to Telangana government, meet the regulator and tell them that we want to bring this thing onto blockchain.
Excellent use case, because end of the day, chit fund itself is a question of trust.
Yeah, and do you know, the beauty was regulators could see that this is not only appification of chit fund industry, this will be building a trust which would be industrial scale trust.
Excellent.
And what has happened, you'll be surprised, in October 2018 they went live, and today they have roughly 500 crores of turnover going on their platform.
Excellent. So, in summary, while there are different views about cryptocurrencies, the regulators and the government and the policymakers are in favor of blockchain as a technology
Why not?
and want to use it.
Yes.
Is that the right statement to make?
Yes, see, the fact here is the people who are actually talking of cryptocurrencies, see, a lot of them are actually short-term investors. See,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
example, let me illustrate the case study of Indian stock exchanges. Indian stock exchanges actually conduct a business volume which is around $1.8 trillion per annum. And at present, this entire system has certain problems like T plus 3.
To settlement, yeah.
So, this settlement problem can actually be corrected. We can actually save a lot of capital liquidity by implementing the same thing using blockchain.
Sure.
So,
Good.
if you are able to save a certain percentage of that $1.8 trillion, you are actually saving a lot of money for Indian investors.
Excellent. So let me go to Newton's question. Newton's question is Python language useful for solidity programming? I'm sure any language, knowing any language will be useful, but anything specific that Python has that is useful for solidity?
See, if you know Python, you can learn solidity in less than 2 days.
Yeah. Good. The next question is from, okay, how blockchain is useful for people in managerial position. We spoke about it across all domains. Anyway, we need people on that. Okay, how is other sectors other than banking and financial services are using blockchain? You spoke about supply chain. You spoke about chit funds, right? I mean, chit fund I can still put in the financial sector, right? Is there anything that's there in pharma? There is somebody asked a question about pharma.
I also talked about
The startup which is on
startup,
pharma side.
aslimedicine.com.
Yeah, that's again on the pharma side. So tell me I technically, I mean, when you really look at it globally, banking financial services generally accepts the technology fastest,
Yeah,
followed by the healthcare,
yeah.
right? What is the next after that? Where do you think blockchain will impact? I'm sure these two are going to be impacted. What is the next?
See,
Being supply chain, I'm sure everything will come in, retail and everything, but
the fact here is that at present we are just seeing the early green shoots. Because if you compare blockchain with technologies like AI and ML, so they are actually 3 to 4 decade old technologies and which have got a very serious research ground and serious industry expertise and serious resource in terms of capacity building.
yeah.
If you compare that with blockchain, of course, blockchain has just entered human universe 10 years back.
It's a kid in the block.
Yeah, so it's a new kid in the block. So it will take some time, no doubt about that. But the point is that this thing is moving so fast that all the early entrants, early movers are actually making it big.
Yeah. So end of the day, the difference of the industry in which it is going to be useful is left to the imagination of the business owners and
Exactly.
the availability of talent to
Exactly.
implement it. Okay. So Vamshi Krishna is asking a question about, based on your previous experience of onboarding new technologies to market, how do you foresee blockchain technology being adopted by market throughout? Pretty interesting question. So
See, you need to understand how the ledger technology works. See, currently, whether it is banks, whether it is central banking, whether it is stock exchanges, or all major ledger centric institutions, the technology that you are using is double entry bookkeeping system.
that's right.
But blockchain is bringing a triple entry bookkeeping system. Now, how these two differ? See, in a double entry bookkeeping system, you need a certified accountant or an auditor to vet your financial statements. So that's why you have a system of annual financial statement and quarterly balance sheets.
Yeah.
But when you talk of blockchain technology, every transaction is automatically a settlement, which means you have entered into a world of real-time auditing system. So the payment system is also a clearing and settlement system,
Yeah.
which means the cost of trust infrastructure is actually going down drastically.
And you keep saying that the cost of trust is generally very high.
Exactly. For example, in US economy, I'm taking the case of a developed economy. The cost of trust infrastructure is roughly 35% of the GDP. And this was actually reflected in a recent research study done by RMIT University, Melbourne, Australia.
Okay.
And if you compare it with a developing country like India or a least developed countries from Asia or Africa, the actual cost of trust infrastructure
Enhances.
would be much high.
That's true.
But the moment you shift on to blockchain, it actually goes down drastically, and not only that, it actually takes you to a first world scale.
That's right.
So people
that's
can
true.
leapfrog.
Like typically what has happened, I mean, India and African countries in many places have leapfrogged to new technology without going through the pain of centralized server technology,
Exactly.
right? So today Africa, there are many countries which has banking which is penetrated far more than many
And without having
countries like
bank branches.
without branches. So that's happening. So now Kirti is asking a very interesting, Kirti Jagannath is asking a very interesting question. How is blockchain for logistic industry? I am sure this is one which is going to be the most disrupted in my view. So what's your thoughts on that?
See, the fact here is that we have been doing two very prominent use cases in our POCs. One is supply chain and other one is trade finance. And while doing, and third one is insurance lifecycle management. Actually, during these three POCs, the logistics was always some sort of a backward linkage.
Yeah.
And this particular area is actually a very seriously disruptive area. And here the potential of blockchain adoption is very high.
Probably the highest,
But
yes.
the interesting point here is that here blockchain needs to meet IoT. So if these two convergence happens, then actually this can become a very killer possibility.
Excellent. So now there are many questions. I think we should do it a little quick. Dave is asking, how can we prepare for a blockchain job? Should we go into Ethereum? Should we go into Hyperledger, Code or Ripple kind of a stuff? So I think broadly he's asking about permission and public blockchain kind of a stuff. And so really, what is that you would like to say? Which of those blockchains are going to be more successful, and where is more jobs going to come?
See, my straight answer to that particular question is that you must learn to respect a blockchain,
Yeah.
because blockchain is first and foremost a concept, a belief system, and that actually trust the new wave of decentralization.
Yeah.
Now, this decentralization can be achieved in multiple ways. First, this decentralization can happen among the known players who did not trust themselves earlier. For example, if you have a group of 50 known players,
Yeah.
then if you build a distributed ledger network, then you are basically building a private blockchain or a permissioned blockchain. Then the ideal platform for you would be something like Hyperledger or Ripple or Corda or multi-chain. But if you are actually building a distributed ledger system for all those players who are actually not known to you, but still you want to build a trustful economic relationship with them, then you need to enter into a public blockchain ecosystem.
That's right.
So ultimately it's a matter of trust. Now trust can be among known players, trust can also be among unknown players.
That's right. Good. So
Very interesting question. I mean, there are two very interesting questions which I want to take. One from Raj Das. How does blockchain increase the crime rate in banks? I don't know what that means, but the whole objective, if my understanding of blockchain, is to reduce the single point of failure and enable transparency.
See,
So, is there a chance of increasing crime rate?
See, the fact here is when I am saying in blockchain world, transaction itself is a settlement
And it's audited.
and it's a self-auditing system.
Yeah.
The chances of fraud are almost minimal.
Yeah. Good. Till somebody comes up with it at a later stage. I'm sure somebody might be working on it, unfortunately. Every technology has two sides to it. So there is a question from Krishna which I thought I will take it. Krishna Guram. How Indian banks implement blockchain technology when RBI is against it? Let me clarify here what Sunil said and the fact, if you can really read through, neither RBI nor Government of India is against blockchain. Right? You cannot use cryptocurrency, which happens to be one use case of the blockchain, as a fiat currency for settling transactions. That's all. If you have to pay 500,000 to somebody, today you cannot use cryptocurrency to pay for it. That's the only thing that's not allowed. We are not talking about cryptocurrency here, we are talking about blockchain, which is the technology. It is like saying there is a website that has been banned. Should the web infrastructure exist or web technology exist? So the web technology is here to stay. One particular implementation, even if it is for a particular purpose not accepted, the technology continues, and that's what is blockchain we are talking about. So I hope I'm right on that. Okay, so how does it help the healthcare domain? I'm sure we have talked about how healthcare record itself is maintained, how doctors and other participants can interact with each other. There are some use cases the projects have come up.
In cohort 2, one of the participants who had no programming background actually decided to join this particular program because he wanted to build a clinical trial management system on blockchain. That participant is postgraduate in pharmacology.
Very good. Yeah.
And he realized that if we want to build clinical trial management system in a safe, reliable, transparent way, then the future forward is only blockchain. He joined this particular program only with this goal in mind.
Okay. Good. There's a very interesting participant in this session, right? The name of the participant is Krishna Bihari Rajput, and he says he has created a blockchain based cleaning project for Ganges, right? Where local people can participate to clean the river Ganga. Right? He has created DApps, web applications. Now is trying to integrate IoT, right? Of course, he's talking about need funding and how do I go about. First of all, I think, Krishna, it's a great thing that you're doing. I'm sure there's a very, very interesting project having a huge social impact, and I'm sure you should personally write to Sunil or us, and we will discuss what kind of funding is possible in a project like this. Not necessarily from us, but we can probably attract you to direct you to the right people.
See, let me add to it. See, in our module 2, in cohort 2, we actually did from multiple use cases, we did one POC on disaster management. One of the groups actually came out with a very, very unique proposal that they can actually build a mechanism through which government can actually build a marketplace using stablecoin system. They were using Ethereum platform, but they actually designed an ecosystem through which much better e-governance solutions can be provided to disaster victims. And you will be surprised, in that particular project, the wastage of funds was near zero, and targeting of right users for right kind of aid was nearly 100%.
Excellent. So those use cases exist and it has been proved.
Yes.
proved to be working. Good. So Dev has answered someone else's question about increasing crime rates in a bank, because he says if only if more than 51% of the people collude, it can work. So which is a very high or a very low probability, and it's not really possible if it's a large enough network. So coming back to the program, now we talked about the program. 2 cohorts have gone. This time it has gone all India.
Yep.
Right. If we can just go into the slides on that. Maybe there are a couple of slides. I think Sunil, I think you should probably. Covers both permission and non-permission blockchains. So multiple platforms, one person, anybody who joins the program will get exposed to, and it's ideal for tech professionals, right? But it's not necessary that you should be only coding person. It could be you understand the tech industry, you have been in the tech industry and have been in any different areas, right from coding to being a project manager to program designer to an architect to an analyst to startup aspirant, right? It is for those who want to be an early entrant into this program. This is an early adopter. I think the whole industry at this point of time may not have more than 250, 300 practitioners in blockchain, and I'm sure that's a great opportunity. And 2 cohorts have gone through, 150 people have gone through this program. So this is the basic details about the program. Now I'll go to the next slide. These are the 5 modules, right? We are talking about 5 module structure. Sunil, would you like to take us through what each of these covers?
See, we have basically 5 modules in this particular course, and the first module is called Understanding Blockchains. So, understanding blockchain, this is actually around a 28-hour long module, where we actually introduce you to the fundamentals of blockchain, elements of cryptography, elements of game theory. Then we also teach you a short history of ICOs and tokens, and then we also teach you what is cryptonomics. And within that, we also give you a very detailed understanding of how Bitcoin scripting works and all those things happen. So this is around a 28-hour long module, and one part of that program is in the contact session and the other part is in the online mode.
Let's go to the format next. Yes, of course.
Then the second module is basically dedicated to Ethereum.
Okay.
And where you learn how to build smart contracts. We also teach you how to build an ERC20 token standard and what are major elements of Ethereum infrastructures like Ganache, how to use it, and Truffle, and these things. Then there is third module, which is building DApps, which is basically dedicated to Hyperledger. And within Hyperledger, we are basically building student capabilities in Hyperledger Fabric, which is at present has come out with 1.4 version. So in both Ethereum and Hyperledger, candidates do 2 lab-based projects.
Okay.
We give them around 5 to 7 use cases, out of which they have to pick one, and they have to develop a POC, which means a running code.
Yeah.
So on that, we are very, very rigorous, because we actually provide them a very serious deep support in terms of practice faculty, in terms of quality lab experiences, and we actually divide all the students into groups, and those groups work together to build these POCs. So all the labs are basically group exercises.
And then different people have different roles. So depending on whether somebody is a coder or a program manager or an architect, all of them have their role in that.
Yeah, we need to understand that everybody doesn't need to be a coder. But if you have a good business use case matrix working within your mind, or if you have a good design architecture in your mind, you can be equally of higher value, because designers are as much a needed species as developers are.
Absolutely.
And then identifying the right use case. So somebody who has zero idea of blockchain can also design a good use case.
That's true.
So then there is fourth module, which is actually called blockchains in action. So we have always believed that blockchain is a very, very competitive universe, and at present we realize that Ethereum and Hyperledger are industry standards without any doubt.
Yeah.
But the fact here is that there are more platforms which might emerge as potential rivals
Yeah.
to Ethereum and Hyperledger. So that's why we have realized that let's give a brief overview of these platforms. So we have actually given space to 5 blockchain platforms, and within which 2 are permission blockchains, or you may say private blockchains, and 2 are permissionless. So the permissioned ones are Multichain, Ripple, and Corda, and permissionless ones are EOS and Cosmos. And along with that, we also teach how to write a good white paper in our module 4. And after that, in module 5, we have capstone and industry interaction.
So technically, participants do one project in a permission blockchain, one in a public blockchain, and one capstone project,
Yeah.
whichever they can choose.
Yeah.
To
So
use.
basically, there are 3 POCs which candidates do.
Very good. In a span of this 18-week program, we now will
Exactly.
go to the next slide, which is more about the format. So maybe I'll just take the first part of it because we have been talking for long. So this program is a 18-week program, and Geet, it is not a free of cost program. There is any new technology requires top faculty to come in, and there is a program cost to it, right? This is probably the first academic program coming from an academic institution like IIIT Hyderabad in association with Talent Sprint. It's a 18-week program, and this requires participants to be in Hyderabad in person with the faculty for 3 days, 3 times during the program. So the program starts with a contact in week 1, then there is another contact in week 12, and there is another contact in week 18. These are the 3 times, 9 days, all the participants will be together and learn together in a common classroom along with the senior faculty members, both industry and academic. On all other weeks, you will be learning online, and the sessions will be on our LMS platform, and it will be an interactive session where you can ask questions, get your questions answered, etc., etc. So that's how this program is structured. So if you are somebody is in whichever part of the country, you need to come to Hyderabad just 3 times over a 4.5 month period for you to be able to participate in this program. And every other week you learn at your own convenience, at your office, at your home, at your guest house, wherever you are, right? So that's how the structure is. And what each of this cover is there in the screen, you look at it. The contact sessions will help you start right, will help you work with group and come out with projects and proof of concepts, and learn the difficult and most important concepts in the physical contact session. Continuous learning, ensuring that you learn to use what you have, you learn to put in practice what you have learned, will also be done in this session. And there will be demo labs and stuff like that. So that's what the program is all about. This program, the fee of the program is 2 lakh rupees. Of course, there are special scholarships available for women because we believe that the percentage of women in technology is low, and for a diversity cause we promote women to get into this program. And also, if you are a startup, there are special scholarships available. So you can talk to various, you can connect with us on our email or come to our website and connect with us, and we will be able to do. And Geet, as I just said, it's a hybrid course. It is in person at IIT Hyderabad for 9 days. That is 3 visits of 3 days each, plus 15 weeks of online learning. So it's a combination
we believe that only online course for deep technology doesn't work, because it requires hand holding. Different people have different challenges in growing to the next level in this technology. It also makes us to challenge as participants to think differently, and that happens when you are with peers in a classroom along with an expert in the class. And we focus on an hybrid platform where there is contact sessions and online sessions. So just specific dates. The program starts on June 21st. That's the schedule as of now. We have around 100 odd seats. I think 45-50 people have already joined the program. We are only looking at getting this going to the next level. So the first visit, second visit, and the third visits are on the screen. You will come in the third week of June, first week of September, and the third week of October. And at the end of the program, those who complete the program convocation will be at the end of the third visit. So that's how the program is structured. I think if you are interested, of course, you can connect with us at talentsprint.com/blockchain, or write to us at blockchain@talentsprint.com. And I'm sure both Sunil and our team members and all of us are here to help you out. And there are relationship managers available whom you can reach out for more details. I'm sure in the chat, the relationship manager will share their numbers. It is also there in the website. You can take that up. So before we close, I have a question for you. Right? We have seen that during the discussion, a lot of interest with participants. We see that industry is adopting it on one side, the professionals are adopting it on the other side, the regulators and the governments are adopting it on the other side. In your view, if you have to use a crystal ball gazing game, in how many years from now, or how many months, or how many decades will blockchain be the center stage and not, I mean, today it's early adoption, only early adopters are here, right? When do you think it will become a citizen scale, large scale implementation?
See, let me answer this particular question in a sense of multiple industries.
Okay.
So if you ask me global banking transactions, I would see blockchain reaching mainstream within this year by end of 2019.
Okay.
For example, India is a developing country, and Ripple has signed MOUs with more than 8 to 10 Indian banks. So that's number one. Second thing is that there are multiple sectors like trade finance, like supply chain, like logistics, like insurance. So in all these sectors, I would see that in a span of beginning from 6 months to 24 months, blockchain will go mainstream. Now, the interesting thing is that in this particular thing, there are certain big events. For example, when JP Morgan Chase announced the project of JP Coin, JPM Coin, then it actually was a wake-up call for the entire financial sector.
There should be some early adopters who stands as.
So the point here is, when such big players start moving, the momentum picks up very, very fast. You'll be surprised when Ripple executive came to our cohort 2 participants, he actually announced that we have multiple jobs.
Good.
So that's one sector. Second thing is that there are certain projects which are about to be announced in a big way. For example, Facebook is coming out with Facebook Coin. MUFG Bank of Japan is coming out with its own coin. So the fact here is that distributed ledger technology is becoming the default future, and they need more and more experts, more and more professionals to actually deploy those products.
That's right.
And the fact is that at present they don't have sufficient members in the team.
That's true. Good, great. So thanks everyone for joining us, from all of us, both of us here. It's great interaction. I think a lot of questions have come. Thanks, Sunil, for taking your time out. I'm sure
You are traveling for a blockchain conference in Europe very soon. All
Yeah.
the best for that.
Thank you.
And I look forward to seeing you back in the classes very soon. And I also look forward to seeing all of you back in the classroom along with Sunil and the IIIT faculty on the 21st of June. All the very best. Thank you.
Thank you.